What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and another day, another Hassan interview, which I do, by the way, find to be a little interesting. So, look, I'm not going to hopefully take up as much of your time as I did, on Monday. This is an interview from IGN. It touched upon similar things to what Hassan said before, and some of the reoccurring kind of statements he likes to make, but also on new stuff. So, I want to try to focus on the new stuff, but I'm just going to kind of recap it verbally and just through, kind of memory. I'm not going to read it out. We're not going to take like 7 minutes, reading an article. So pretty much what ended up happening as the big chunk of this article is a lot of explanations to the past games. And I don't like the explanations whatsoever. It goes back to all those conversations we had about their sketchy past, in that, he's trying to defend what they've done in the way of like, well, they did Kickstarters, but they refunded money, or at least they let refunds, happen if people were able to do that. Like, games had come out, but they had pulled them, and the excuse was, well, they weren't, we weren't going to be able to give it as much love and, get it as high, or I guess as quality as we wanted. So, you released it, and then you took it off of the stores after a little bit of time because of it. So, they're not good answers whatsoever. I really hate, in fact, the excuses that they gave for all of the, the smaller things. I think, I do want to say this. Reading through it, he makes the point that, they were a very small team, and at one point it was literally him, Hassan, and one other person, okay? And that these two guys were ones that were making, some of these early on games. And they've grown a little bit, but they're still an indie team, and they're still very small. And, many indie teams, create projects, cancel projects, and, if there's zero audience, there's really no harm in canceling things. I understand that. I do get that. But, I made the point about Ember Lab, which, yeah, they've had background in other stuff, but, this is their very first video game ever with Kena Bridge of Spirits, and, they're knocking it, in my opinion, they're knocking it out of the park. So I really don't like the excuse that they're young, they're inexperienced, they're a small team, it's their first games. Well, not really. They've made 4 or 5 other games. Then there's the confusion, and I do want to mention this, with that game, The Haunting, right? Remember that game? The one that they had created, and they kind of just left it. They said they gave it to this indie studio that literally doesn't exist. People kind of fact-check that. Well, he clarified, and literally it's a 4-person team that works at Blue Box that's working on it as a side project. So technically, I guess the team doesn't. So my point is this, they're giving all these answers, and, IGN's, there's a couple different aspects I want to talk about. They're giving all of these answers, but they're not very good answers, and they're kind of just talking to talk. But one thing I find very interesting is you see online, okay? Now, there's many different groups of people's thoughts on this studio and on the game. It really seems like the majority of the internet has completely turned on them. And I kind of, mentioned this in past videos. Literally, no matter where you stand, there's kind of just a sense of tiredness, where we're kind of done with it. You know what I mean? No matter where you stand. I think the people that have really never had fun with this in the first place, and I'm not saying you have to have fun with this, it's just that I am, right? But I know that there's a lot of people that really never were having fun. It seems like every single one of them have just completely turned on them, which, by the way, is fine. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. And there's if you go to that IGN article in their Twitter and you scroll down, every single comment is talking about them being scammers. Now, again, I don't think the way, the word scamming is being used wrong in all different kinds of, factions. I'm not going to go too far into it, but, I mean, it doesn't matter, if the definition of the word. There's a lot of people very upset with them. There's also seemingly, and again, I'm not saying this is right or wrong, a growing push of people saying, you're giving them all this attention when you could be giving other things attention. And, it's wrong. It's not fair to the other developers. No, some people have said that to me. Saying it to me really doesn't make any kind of sense, because as you can maybe tell from my channel, I cover 1,000 different things. So I do, give attention to games that otherwise never would, right? There's a game called 12 Minutes that it seems like only I have ever talked about that game. Nobody else makes videos on it. So you can't really call me on that. You can't really catch me. But I mean, I get it. I guess the point I'm trying to make is they're running out of time. No matter how you think of it, they're running out of time to win anybody, with this project, because, even the people like us, maybe, that are just caught up in the conspiracies, having fun with it, not having fun with it, whatever, if they lose us, we're maybe the last people left. You know what I mean? Nobody else seems to really care. Another couple of things I do want to mention is the app. And in terms of like what's coming next, one of the big headlines, I guess, of the Hassan IGN interview is that the gameplay is still months away. So they are going to have that reveal trailer in the next little while, next couple of weeks, right? But in terms of gameplay, that's months and months out. I don't like that. Again, that goes to the whole promising things and then not delivering upon them, which they did mention. And the excuse pretty much from Hassan is young, inexperienced. They've only made small games nobody's cared about. This is their first game on like the world stage, which, begs the question to me. Here's the thing, and it's been said before, but I find it interesting, throughout the entire article. So, basically throughout the entire, interview with him, his excuse with all of these games were that, they didn't have enough manpower, or that, so some of these games were just kind of thoughts and they never really came to fruition, or the ones that were released they had to take down. They took Kickstarter money, all of this different stuff, right? So, like, up until, let's say, 2-3 years ago, maybe less, maybe more, they were literally nobodies. I mean, this was a 2-person team. It grew to, like, a 10-person team, but they have over 50 people working on Abandon, which just makes it sound worse, right? So how do you go... like, thinking about it sounds so stupid, like, listening to Hassan talk or that article. How do you go from 2 people that made nothing? I mean, actually, if you think about it, if you really boil it down and read between the lines, he's admitting, and he's giving excuses for these, failed/canceled projects, but they're exactly that. They're projects that were not completed. They downright failed and needed to be pulled off. There's excuses, and you can think about it however you want, but at the end of the day, nothing's ever happened. As I keep saying throughout these videos, they've never done anything. So tell me, how does a studio that's never done anything, possibly has stolen from people in the past, has robbed people of their Kickstarter money, maybe refunded it, maybe didn't, how does a team like that go from 2 people to 10? Then they have 7 outsourcing companies helping them, so now you're up to 50 people. You're making a game, you have your own motion capture studio, you're working with top-of-the-line voice acting talent, you're using Unreal Engine 5, the budget for this game seems enormous, you're making a real-time app for the... How does all of that stuff from a guy, Hassan, who seems to have zero experience doing any of this stuff? How does that happen? So, it's funny, and maybe it's just a problem with me, and it probably is. It's funny that you can read through it, and you can, I'll be honest, there are definitely parts of me that do think, it could be just all a scam, okay, well, see, that word's that word's a triggering word, right? That's just all fake. That really, there is no game. There'll never be a game. They're doing it for attention, and they're gonna, disappear forever. There is a part of me that thinks that could very well happen. In fact, if you read the comments on Twitter and all that stuff, there's a lot of people that think that we're never gonna get a gameplay trailer, stuff like that. Possibly. I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm not going to, I'm not a fortune teller. I'm not going to say with certainty one thing or the other is going to happen. But it's funny I can go down that route, but then also say, but wait, how, again, maybe they're the exact same things, because all the stuff I just said, small team that turns into a big team, even though we've only ever seen Hassan, and he even says, nobody else wants to be mentioned or named or seen, on the internet. So, they kind of cross each other. Maybe there is nobody else. Maybe this is all for attention. He can say it's being built in Unreal Engine 5 all he wants. If it doesn't end up happening, if the game's fake, he can say literally whatever about the game he wants it to be. So there really is a big intersection there where either, again, as we keep saying, right, it's either something big, they're in over their heads and they're maybe lying about stuff, and the game we're going to get is just going to be not even close to the game that he's promising, or there's literally no game whatsoever. So it just keeps unraveling, and I know I'm still making this a long video even though I said I wasn't going to, so I'm sorry about that, but it's very interesting to me how these things can just literally spiral out of control. Again, I think the biggest points is that the gameplay is still so far away, which is upsetting, because remember, originally the game was supposed to release later, at the end of this year, and then we were supposed to get the gameplay months ago. So obviously, they're doing something over there. He didn't do the whole whining thing as much in the IGN interview, although, again, he did talk about things like he understands where people are coming from, but the scamming thing is just way too far. The personal threats are way too far. And again, as I've said, yeah, the personal threats are way too far. You know what I mean? I don't think jabbing on him in these videos or, stuff like that, saying, he could possibly not be a real person, that's up to him to if he wants to get upset about that, he can get upset about that. Yes, if you're taking that step to tweet at him and threaten him or DM him, stuff like that, that's obviously way too far. And I've never, nobody, that's the thing though. I think that's a very small amount of people that don't watch these videos, that don't listen, that don't literally participate in anything except for like a kind of like a super hate kind of culture. You know what I mean? It's not even worth talking to those people sometimes. You know what I mean? So, always interesting. I don't want to make 2 videos daily on this. We'll kind of keep track if anything happens. Maybe there'll be a couple days, kind of a break, and then, obviously over the next couple of weeks, there'll be a bigger trailer, hopefully, of this game. We can talk about it then, okay? If any of this stuff continues to pop up, I'll absolutely cover it. Let me know what you guys think. As always, thank you so much for the support. You guys know what to do. Subscribe, bell icon, Twitter, second channel, Patreon, YouTube memberships. All that stuff is in the description below, okay? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all on the next video.